All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else? And in today's video, we are going to talk about the Elder Scrolls Online, and we are going to attempt to answer the question, is ESO in maintenance mode? Now, I know, judging from the reactions from Matt Ferror's post, you have a lot of YouTube content creators out there posting both positive and negative aspects of this. I provided my point of view. You guys can check it out. It's a previous video. I'll provide a link in the description if you guys want to go watch it. There's positivity and negativity on both sides. And I think a lot of it boils down to what content you're playing and enjoying the most. If you're playing Overland content and you're enjoying stuff like Tales of Tribute and doing normal dungeons with the occasional amount of trials, you're probably still having a great time. If you're trying to do endgame raiding, mostly trials and doing endgame PvP, probably not very happy right now because the game just doesn't functionally work. Block hasn't worked for over a month now. And so I was combing through different videos. I was looking at other people's opinions and reactions, and long story short, I stumbled across a couple comments from Sawman UK's video where they were saying, oh wow, ESO is in maintenance mode. ESO is going into maintenance mode. Maintenance mode is essentially, they're not looking to branch out and try new things. They're just going to do the bare minimum for survival. And so I started to do some research because I've had an opinion that I've had for the last couple of years now. And I'll get into that later in the video, but I wanted to lay out the case for you guys because I want you guys to keep your eyes open to this, okay? I don't care whether you're positive or negative or anything like that. I want to lay this out for you. You'd look at it just from a blank slate, hear me out on here, and we'll hopefully come to more or less of an agreement by the end of this video. So that's what this video is. I'm just trying to have you guys, whether you agree or disagree with my point, just to kind of keep you aware of what it is, what happens in other games, and if it's not happening now, will it be happening in the future? That way you guys can protect yourselves. Now there's a lot of dubious companies out there that really keep you on the hook for a lot longer than you expect, and then all of a sudden you wonder what's happening and you feel like you've wasted your time and money on a game that isn't doing the same for you. And so that's why I'm doing this video. I want to try to help protect you guys as much as possible to keep you aware of what it's about. And yeah, that's what we're here for. So we're done talking about it. Let's dive into it. So I found this article. It is from 2014. It is from 8 years ago. And it says when MMOs slip into maintenance mode. And yeah, but he goes, the first thing you take notice when you log into Brandywine servers is that there is a fight taking place in chat. This is not an exaggeration. The game that the server is a part of, Lord of the Rings Online, or LOTRO, somewhat recently added a global chat which serves as the default means of communication in the game. So take however many people are online, reckon that circa 70% of them will keep the chat channel open, and that's how many people are listening, talking at one time. An acrid stench of stagnation hangs over the chat topics. People argue over arcane grudges stretching over nearly a decade of the game's existence. They know each other's alts, so when one side of an argument switches characters in an attempt to back out, he or she is called on it as soon as the alt's name shows up. I've seen players come back from bannings, be greeted warmly, only to immediately launch into a public tirade, clearly aimed at getting banned again. PvP arguments spiral out of control at the drop of a hat. Perhaps shockingly, the channel is not actually that crowded, just loud. The fact is that not many people play LOTRO anymore. Enough to keep the doors open and intermittent new content coming, but not so much as to make a default global chat channel an absurd endeavor. So it's noisy, yes, and does just enough to make the server still feel as though it has a teeming population. But it's by no means the ceaseless cacophony of white noise a comparable channel in World of Warcraft might be, which is the point, I suspect. The advent of free-for-all channel is a tacit admission that the server populations aren't what they once were. If they were, such a channel would be impossible to implement. With the setup now, there's a pleasing rhythm to the inane arguments and trade spam which lets you suspend your belief that the game is packed to the gills. The loudness masks the stagnation. LOTRO is teetering on the edge of maintenance mode, the point in an MMO's life where the patches and new content slow to a trickle or stop completely. The game is alive, there are players on the servers obviously, and Turbine seems committed to putting out content as often as their stripped down team is able, but all of it feels like spinning tires going nowhere. Does this sound familiar? Held together by the inertia of what's come before, not what's on the horizon. The nature of the game's content is a perfect example. There hasn't been an endgame in LOTRO in years now. A new zone or expansion pack is released, you level through it, and when you do the same content you were doing in 2010. This isn't the WoW version of doing the same thing, where everyone grumbles about raids and daily quests. No, this is doing the exact same dungeons and raids you were doing, just with more hit points on the bosses in new tokens to grind for. LOTRO now recycles. It recycles mechanics, in the form of simply upping the level limits to old content when they raise the level cap. It recycles art, sprinkling lovely new vistas with 7-year-old building textures. Hey, remember when we got a pet a couple months ago because block wasn't working and people said it was a reskin pet of something that was already out? Okay, a lot of this can be traced back to Turbine's fateful decision to go subscription optional. They were until that point the second or third most popular MMO in the United States. Once they went in for a prominent cash shop, selling everything from individual zones to stat boosts, the entire tone of the game began to change. It was less about keeping subscribers, even as their revenues increased, and more about finding ways to eke out a few bucks from the players. This led to the game decisions which, if you trace them to their logical conclusions, ended up leading to an optional but recommended for your sanity purchase from the shop. For instance, items once meant for selling to a vendor ended up turning into trade-in items for experience. So to level up quickly, you now hang on to the items. This causes a lack of inventory space, which can be alleviated, where else? In the cash shop by purchasing more room. That feels like an apt metaphor for what an MMO slipping into stagnation feels like. It's made up of memories of content and people long since gone or irrelevant. It suddenly sparks back to life with a patch or a call from someone else asking to get the band back together, only to fade back into the tedious rhythm of the always there. Grind, 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 fight, 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 unsub and return until one day you don't. MMOs rarely die. An extremely scant few break into global success. Most of them simply linger. The fact is, most MMOs are profitable, assuming costs are kept within reason. Even what a lot of folks might consider a failure is actually a success, at least once the layoffs and server consolidations are done. LOTRO, Rift, Age of Conan, EverQuest 2, all still going, none of them liable to shut down soon, definitely never to climb back to the heights they once achieved. That was really well spoken. That was really well said. And so he's just basically talking about, I don't have to gloss over it, but a really well written article. Just talking about how another game just kind of sifted into nothingness. And so after listening to this guy's perspective on a game that you're not playing and that you can look at it from an open perspective, you have to ask yourself, is ESO exhibiting some of the same traits? Are they doing some of the same things? And I would contest that they have been since 2020. 2020 was the year of performance. They set aside a lot of time to work on new chapters and stuff to work on the performance, only for it to not happen. 2021 was Blackreach. What do we get in Blackreach? We got companions. Basically NPCs to fight at our side. Does that help endgame and veteran players? Nope, not at all. It helps new players for the new content. So, and obviously there was more. There was a whole lot more. And then you get into 2022, and what do we get? We got Tales of Tribute, a card game. And that was basically it. And so you look at things, and you see what's been happening over the last 2 years with their cash shop, with their monetization, and you're inclined to buy whatever you want. But there have been issues there where they're getting more and more brazen with trying to get you to buy things from their cash shop. And so I would contend, and that for the last 2 years, they have been coasting. They have ESO already is in maintenance mode, and it has been for a while. Now, some of you guys may disagree with that, and that's okay. It's okay to disagree with me. It's okay to disagree with my point of view. Maybe just from a PvPer's perspective, it's in maintenance mode because we haven't gotten a new anything since 2019. Maybe that's my perspective, and for you guys, you're getting your new content and everything. And so I want to be clear that this is coming from my perspective, and it doesn't apply to everybody that plays this game because we all play this game separately. So they just rolled out. Matt Farrar came out with this big article talking about all the changes they're going to make. What do we look for to see if they're in maintenance mode or if they're expanding their game? Well, first thing I would say is it looks like they're doing a lot less content. Let's look at the content that they have in store for 2023. You have quarter 1, which is the dungeon DLC, which is normal. Quarter 2 is the full featured chapter. Quarter 3, focus on quality of life improvements and bug fixes. So no longer a dungeon and DLC. And then quarter 4, rather than the usual zone DLC, we will be featuring a new system. We're working on the concept and design for this now. We'll give more details during our global reveal event early next year. I am not saying one way or another whether this content is going to be more or less than the last 2 years' content. I'm not here to tell you guys that or anything like that. What I want you guys to do is, for your own gameplay, what you like to enjoy, internalize what the last year's amount of content has been for you. And then when you come into this next year, if you're still enjoying the game, see if it feels like it's less. They're saying that they're going to do the full featured chapter in Q2. So if we get into Q2 and you're still enjoying the game and you buy the new chapter and the Q2 chapter feels the same as last year's, well, there's a pretty good chance that they're toning things back, that they're toning content back. And so then you have to go, wow, okay, well, it looks like on paper that things are staying the same. They're just eliminating some content because, yeah. And then you can look at Q3, focus on quality of life improvements and bug fixes. This is pretty easy. Bugs are getting more and more out of touch. They're getting more and more ridiculous. How much are they going to address? Is the game going to feel smoother? Is the game going to continue to feel more and more clunky? You'll be able to tell if you're still enjoying the game at this point if Q3 is actually something they delved a lot of time into. And then finally, Q4, I have no idea what the hell that is right now. I'll be completely honest with you guys. I don't know what the new system is. And so it could be a lot. It could be a lot. It could be very undertaking. It could be a grand thing that like a brand new thing, like something, let's say on the scale of like Battlegrounds, right? I'm not saying it's going to be Battlegrounds. I don't know what it is. But if it's something on that scale, then you could say that, yes, they're not coasting. Or at least they're not dropping further than where they've been. They're still doing similar content. It's just different content, right? And so those are the things I would be looking for if you guys don't agree with my point of view. And that's more than fine. And the thing with coasting is, it's okay. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that a coasting game is necessarily a bad thing. I wouldn't say that, because if you're getting fun out of it, that's all that matters. If the game works for you and you're enjoying playing it, that's all that matters. ESO PvP has been coasting. Wow, I'm keeping it in there. ESO PvP has been coasting for over 3 years now. We have not gotten a new map for Battlegrounds since 2019. We have not gotten basically a new anything PvP related since 2019. And so I've still been playing, or I was still playing for 3 years, because when it works, it's fun. And so if you're enjoying a game, you can keep playing it if it's coasting. You can decide, you can choose whether or not to buy something in the cash shop. If you see a sexy elk mount, you could buy the elk mount if you so choose to. There's nothing wrong with playing a game that you enjoy. But we can at least acknowledge that, yeah, they are coasting on content. They're not coming out with a new class. They are not. And so this next year, for people that disagree with me, will be very telling. For those of you enjoying the game and trying to figure stuff out, is where it's actually going to be. And so I'm not here to start a fight with you guys. If you guys want to watch positive content creators talk about different things, because that's the avenue of gaming that you play and you expect to see more out of there, awesome. I hope the best for you. I really do. But at the same time, I want to keep an eye out for people that watch my channel and my subscribers, and just keep you wary to what a game dying down looks like. And if you don't want to be a part of a game dying down, then you need to look out for these warning signs and what's going on here. And don't buy into the messages from the developers saying that they're taking a whole new direction by reducing a bunch of content. We don't know if they're reducing content yet. On paper, less dungeons, less DLC, but it could be a good thing. It could be a good thing, and they're just, you know, allocating their resources to something else. We don't know yet, but it's something to pay attention to. That's where I'm at with this game. And they can prove me wrong. They can prove me wrong by hitting it out of the park with a great patch, by having great DLCs, by having fully fleshed out content and these sorts of things, and improving combat, and, you know, showing that it's not just words, it's actually action. But I am going to reserve my judgment until then, and if I'm wrong, I'll make an apology video and I'll say, hey, you know, this is what I've been seeing. Clearly, what was happening is they couldn't get their hands around performance, but now that they have been able to, they've been able to go full steam ahead with what they want to do, and it's awesome. But we're not at that point yet, and I don't know if we'll ever be at that point. So just keeping it real for you guys. Yeah, that's gonna be the end of this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide in the section below. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Have a nice day.